Whenever you're ready.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the MulletCast, the podcast where business and pleasure collide. My name is Evan Balmer.
What's going on? It's Mike Mercia.
What's up, Mike?
I'm good.
Happy President's Day.
Yep.
Today we are joined by Lauren Farrell, who we forgot to tell to put on the headphones.
I got it. I was like, wait, I'm missing out on something.
It makes a big difference.
What's happening, Lauren?
Not much. How are you guys?
Good. Lauren is the founder of Lauren Farrell NY. Check them out online at laurenfarrellny.com. On Instagram at Lauren Farrell NY. We throw the links up for you as well. How's everything going?
Everything's going great. I'm happy to be here. First podcast ever.
Nice.
Awesome.
I like it.
We're honored.
Thank you for having me.
For sure. So you launched a fashion line, and the way we kind of came across you is you got a pop-up going on over at Bellworks.
Yes.
How's that going?
It's going amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. I think the building itself with so much history and such an entrepreneurial spirit in terms of the ideas that came from it.
Right.
And then now that they've revamped, Bell Labs into Bellworks and coined it a Metro Burb, I think it's a really amazing concept. So that entrepreneurial spirit in the building itself and then the people and the businesses within it, it's been amazing interacting and meeting everyone and,
Right.
Just being a part of that.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
So what is the pop-up? Like, are you the only one that's a pop-up?
So
or?
I'm the only one.
Okay.
I'm actually the first one ever in Bellworks.
Okay.
And it's kind of a shift happening in retail in general. It's a really appealing business model for smaller brands because they're not committing to, long leases with
Yeah.
a ton of
Right.
overhead, especially when you're still testing maybe your proof of concept or, what lines you're going to run with full-fledged. It's been very valuable to have that real-time feedback and interaction with customers.
Awesome. So how long are you going to be there?
Through the month of February, but then we're extending into March.
Nice. So it's going well then.
It's going well.
Awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the entrepreneurial vibe there, and you studied at Lehigh, and you were like, I guess it was an entrepreneur program that you were heavily into there?
Yep. I was undecided, and then I was taking design classes and had to pick up some various courses along the way due to the requirements of the university.
Right.
And I saw intro entrepreneurship. I was like, oh, what's this? Sounds cool. And ended up loving it. I had not really heard of the term entrepreneurship previously.
Right.
And it was this fusion of, creativity and business that I had never really thought of previously. But then looking back, I said, I always had that entrepreneurial spirit. The second I turned 11, I signed up for the Red Cross babysitter certification class.
Oh, nice.
Went around with flyers to my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone and anyone that had a swing set got a flyer. And so it was always kind of in me. I remember I made earrings and sold them at the end of my driveway during soccer practice because we live across from an elementary school. Just little things like that it was always in you, but I never knew, what it was. And in particular, there was one program where they took 50 students to the west coast of Silicon Valley. It was called Lehigh Silicon Valley.
Oh, cool.
A full immersion, week-long series of live case studies right in Silicon Valley, and you saw every aspect of entrepreneurship.
That's
Right.
awesome.
The founder of SUDC was there, a couple other different companies, and we got to see the legal side, the VC side, everything.
Mm-hmm.
But what stuck with me the most was the passion that the entrepreneurs had. It was contagious, and I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I want to be like that.
Yeah.
Because something about them, they just had this energy and this vivacity that was like, I want some of that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So studying that in college, did you study like marketing, accounting, like a little bit of everything?
No. So it's funny. Both my brothers went to Lehigh, and it's well known as an engineering school, not a design school by any means. So they would always tease me, "How's finger painting going?"
Yeah.
So screw you guys. It's going great.
Yeah.
So basically, I am not very quantitative in terms of my mindset or what I'm drawn to. So I steered clear of business at Lehigh because it's highly quantitative.
Right.
And I went the design route. So it was a very broad approach to design in general. And a really interesting kind of, viewpoint that I took away being that if you have an idea, even if others might not like it, you should still stick to it because design is so subjective. So I would say that was kind of my biggest takeaway. And then to have the entrepreneurship minor, it really was a great combination of everything I had kind of learned.
Right. So were you like really into fashion as well as design, or
Probably, honestly, not until I got to school.
Yeah.
And that's when it was really like the girls would really dress up at night for parties, and I was like, I got to step up my game. Like, jeans and sneakers is not going to cut it. Right. And it was kind of when, I guess, online shopping was becoming a little bit more prominent. And so, you'd be online, look Forever 21, this or that, need an outfit for this. And then there were theme parties in college, so things like that. And that's when, like, people would comment, like, I really love your outfit. Can I borrow a dress? Can I do this? And that's when I was like, oh, I love fashion, and I think I always did, but I had not lost it, but I kind of found it again in college, because I remember back to, like, 4th grade, Limited 2 was all the rage, and like there are vivid outfits that I still remember. And I saw a meme a couple of weeks ago, and it was joking about how when you had a cool outfit back in the day, like that's when you took extra trips to the pencil sharpener. And it's like, I was that girl.
Yeah, that's funny.
I always wondered why certain people went sharpen their pencils.
That's
I'm like,
why.
man, they're very clumsy with the pencil point. So did you ever bust out that jacket at Lehigh, or is that a recent addition?
No, this one's a fairly recent
That's
addition.
pretty sweet.
Yes.
It's good for the cold.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm jealous.
Hopefully I can get a picture in that later.
Sure. Only if I can get a picture in the mullet.
Totally.
Done.
Done.
That's
Done.
a fair
Deal.
trade. Excellent. So what else did you take away from kind of entrepreneurship or design while you were at Lehigh?
I would say definitely that usually your idea will stem from a personal need. And so the end of senior year, I was like, this is so annoying. I'm going out at night bringing a handbag, but I'm really only bringing literally my room swipe and a key.
Right.
And, as you grew older, your ID.
Yeah.
And so I, said, let me apply what we're learning here. There has to be a better way to carry your stuff. And I invented then a wrist wallet that looks like a cuff bracelet.
Oh, wow.
I got a patent on it. And the whole idea is that your essentials are on your wrist in a functional but still fashion-forward way.
That's awesome.
And it was awesome. And it was like...
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like a modern-day fanny pack.
Yeah, and it's funny. Oh, we'll get to that.
Okay.
I have one of those too. But it was very cool because you just kind of took what they were teaching in school and applied it in a very practical sense.
Yeah. Right.
And I actually then graduated and was applying to a bunch of jobs in fashion and wasn't getting any bites. And it was so frustrating because I remember all my business friends, all my engineering friends, everyone's getting jobs, but Lehigh's not known for fashion or design.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I remember then I went to a headhunter who specified in fashion.
Right.
And she was so scary. I do not get intimidated, honestly, by anyone. This lady scared me. She was like very Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
And she interviewed me, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, this is so intense. And at the end, she goes, I think I might have a good fit for you.
Really?
And I said, oh, really? Okay, cool. And you're thinking, fashion, like any designer, honestly, at this point, any capacity is going to be great. I had a handful of unpaid internships that were ridiculous that I walked away from after like a week because I was like, I did not go to school for this. I'm not learning anything. Know your worth, know your value. So then she goes, I have, a potential position at Gucci. And I remember being like,
what?
Because Gucci is literally, Louis Vuitton is number one, and right behind it is pretty much Gucci, and then a couple of your other major fashion houses. So I was like, okay. And she goes, and it's to support the director of store ops. So not only are you at, top 5 fashion house in the world, but supporting people at the top.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay. And so went on the interview the next day, and it was so funny because very odd. Here's a little bit of backstory back to Lehigh and a very important piece of the whole story. So I managed the men's lacrosse team in college for fun. I had a leg injury as a child where I couldn't play sports beyond 8th grade. And I went the theater route in high school, but didn't really love it. Got to college, became friends with a bunch of the guys. My grandpa and uncle had both played lacrosse at Lehigh. So kind of weird, full circle.
Yeah.
The guys were like, go see if we need a manager. And I'm like, all right, screw it, let's go. So I, approached the coach. I said, hey, I have some free time. I would love to get involved. In what ways can I support you guys? And after about 2 weeks of, I think, feeling me out and seeing if I was committed and whatnot, he brought me on as manager of the team. So
That's
I managed
nice.
the team for 3 years. Amazing, amazing experience. But flash forward to this interview with the fashion lady, and she goes, what is this manager of the men's lacrosse team? And I said, well, that's like a really, really big piece of, my college career and who I am and, all of these amazing takeaways. She goes, get rid of it. They don't care about it. And so I remember...
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. And this was a massive... I was pretty much on the team in terms of time commitment. It was every day, practice, away games,
This is
home
the
games.
cornerstone of my resume, lady.
This
What are you
is
talking
literally
about,
like,
man?
this is what I did in college beyond, design and parties here and there. So I remember my heart breaking, and I'm hitting backspace. I'm like, what am I doing? And so I send her my updated resume per her request that she's forwarding to the woman at Gucci. And flash forward the next day, I go to Gucci. I have my hard copies of my new resume without Lehigh lacrosse. And I give them to the woman who becomes my future boss. And she goes, what is this format? Why is this different than the one I have? So it turns out the headhunter sent her the old version, not the updated one. Right. So it still had manager of the men's lacrosse team. I was like, well, I was advised to take that off. She goes, well, that's funny, because what piqued my interest the most was this manager of the men's lacrosse team. Right. And I lit up. We talked about the team and the whole thing for like 30 minutes. And I think that's what made me different, was the fact, you could corral these 50 guys. And, I was just so passionate about it. And she saw that. That's awesome. And so got my first job at Gucci. Nice. Via the men's lacrosse team. So kind of just crazy.
If that wasn't on there, you think she would have just kind of put it back?
I think, honestly, it probably would have come up at some
point.
Right.
Yeah. Probably would have talked about
it's all I really, not all I had to talk about, but like I said, such a paramount key piece of, my experience at school.
Right. So what's the best crank call you made with the men's lacrosse team?
Oh, God. Yeah, I saw that in the back.
Oh, gosh. So basically, I'm really good at doing accents. And the trainer and I, one night, there was a hotel we were in that had, like, the 3 bottles of wine in the little shop. And we're like, let's go. Right. So we split a bottle of wine. This is like the fourth night probably. We're traveling during spring break. So we're getting bored. And we're like, who can we prank phone call? And I was like, well, I can do accents. And she's like, talking about who she makes fun of with like what guys on the team. Right. And so it's terrible. It's not very PC. I don't know if I can say it, but we created this character named Miss Lynn who prank phone called, in particular, one kid, Brian Hess. And it was so funny. It went on for like 3 or 4 more nights, and the last night, literally the 2 assistant coaches are in our room because it's gone around like, who is this Miss Lynn? And the first night they came over and they said, Farrell, was that you? It sounds like it was kind of like you. I was like, yeah, the woman calling saying she made sushi and Godzilla was outside, all this other stuff. Yeah, she woke us up. No, it's not me. So they were like completely off my, radar until the very end. And the wager was, if they won this next game, I had to come clean. Right. So sure enough, they win. And when he passed by, I said in real life, I was like, Mr. Hess, good game, but in my accent. And so he was like, no. And the whole team was floored that it was me.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
And then they do this thing. They do karaoke on the bus ride during spring break. But it's like you have your headphones on and the microphone from the bus, and no one can hear the song or this or that. But anyways, the trainer at one point steals the microphone, and we had recorded the last recording of the prank phone call. So the team was like howling. The coach is like, Farrell, I had no idea you were so funny. Like all this stuff. I was like, this is so embarrassing because I was always professional in my interactions typically.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the crank calls too.
Yeah. It was fun.
I did a lot of them.
Right.
Back in the day.
It's tougher these days with, the technology out there and tracing calls. But I guess you can still throw stuff off.
And it was just via the hotel, like room numbers. We knew which room numbers they were in, so we knew how we could
That's awesome.
get them.
That is cool. So, all right, so you got your gig at Gucci.
Yep.
What was that experience
so
like?
Gig at Gucci was awesome, but the one caveat, it was temp to perm. And so the temp to perm timeline wasn't coming to fruition per the expected initial timeline. Right. And it was so frustrating because it's like you were doing the most amazing work and projects, but making, $12 an hour.
Right.
You're literally doing projects for the president. So it's like, what's going on here?
Right.
And
what was the timeline supposed to be?
Timeline was supposed to be 6 to 9 months. And we were going on like the 11th month. And I was like, all right, I'm looking to jumpstart a career in fashion. And I had my cuff on.
Let's get some of those Gucci bucks going. Man. Come on.
I couldn't even get the discount and get a discounted bag. So it was like torture because you get on the elevator every morning and then you see everyone's bags and it's just like, and their shoes and this. Oh gosh, it was torture. So hilarious though because not hilarious. I don't know what I'm
I got a
saying.
guy on Canal Street, by the way. Like,
Do you?
yeah. One of my prized possessions back in the day. I used to have this Gucci bucket hat. It was like,
Did you really?
Yeah. I still may have it somewhere, but I got some pics. Like, I used to bust this out. Like,
That's
Gucci
awesome.
bucket. I love
Bring
that.
it back.
Yeah.
may have to.
I think
So,
you should.
sorry. So you weren't getting the
No,
discount.
it's all good. So yeah, you're not getting the discount.
That's
None of the
lame.
perks of working in fashion. Constant tease, and then I remember it's like so frustrating because I had this, cuff. It's called the cufflet. Was
Right.
my patented wrist wallet on the back burner, and everyone says you can work on your full-time job and you can, build your dream, in your off hours.
Right.
But fashion, the district shuts down at like 5 or 6. It's not really open on the weekends. So you
Right.
can't, and it's very much an industry where you need to see, touch, and feel.
Mm-hmm.
You could go the online route and order a swatch and this and that. And it's not right. It's just such a, a much longer and more expensive process than it would need to be. And then the straw that really broke the camel's back was I had a very good friend. Her family friend was a girl who was about 20, 21 years old. She had just gotten 3 or 4 big offers from the banks in the city. And she was out with her sister celebrating, and she tripped into the street and got hit and killed by a taxi.
Oh my God.
And I didn't know her, but I remember we went to where she had passed away, and it was very much that aha moment of like, nothing is guaranteed. Life
Right.
is so short. This girl had everything going for her and was young, and like that, it was gone.
That's
and so
insane.
that was really the push. I was like, screw it, I'm going to do it. If I don't do this now, I never will, and I don't want to live with that regret of what if.
Yeah.
And so that was literally like the next day. I think I gave my 2 weeks notice.
Really?
Yeah, literally, because I had been weighing it in my mind.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was literally the tipping point.
Yeah.
For sure.
Moment of clarity. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, but something about it. It was like it could have been any one of us out any night in the
Right.
city.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's horrible.
So what happened after that? Like, what were the steps to get to where you are now?
So then I finally had time to go source and make, more iterations of this cuff. And I built out pretty much a couple different collections. Like you had your edgy New York City girl, so cool bubble lamb with big hardware. And then I remember another aha moment of putting 2 zippers together that were different colors.
Right.
It was blue and orange. And I was like, wait, team colors. So that was kind of when I built out then a collection of more sports-oriented team colors.
Okay.
Right.
Nice.
And then as I was doing my own market research, literally making little survey monkey things, pitching it to girls I
Yeah.
went to school with that were sports fans.
Right.
No, not sports fans at that point, just fashionista girls at that point. And I said, where would you see yourself using this? And the consensus that kept coming back was game day in stadiums.
Wow.
And so it was like the 10th time that I had heard
That's awesome.
game day in stadiums.
Right.
And I said, why is everyone saying this? And so I did some Googling, sports and fashion, game day.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, handbag, because handbags would be competition for your cuff from a use
Right.
perspective. So game day handbag, sports handbag. And I noticed, number one, there are no cute handbags.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's a lot of stadiums that have very strict bag policies.
Right, like size limits and
Size
stuff.
limits, they have to be teeny tiny or clear, but
Right.
clear is not cute. Even when Chanel
Yeah.
does it,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
still plastic. So I steer clear of clear because
That's
it's just
funny.
not cute. And that's when I said, oh my gosh,
Right.
this is, a really big opportunity and a perfect moment for a pivot because no one's doing this. And then flash back to Lehigh Lacrosse again. I remember the moms trying to wear the colors and show their spirit without
Right.
wearing a t-shirt or a jersey. And I myself was so tired of wearing the same 3 shirts. But then you'd go on Google, cute brown shirt. Good luck.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
It they don't exist, especially for those more unique color combinations. Like if you
Right.
want Miami Dolphins teal in a cute sweater, you're gonna have a very hard time
Right.
finding it.
Yeah.
And so that's when I said, wow, why for that woman who loves fashion does game day have to be different than any other day? And so the pivot to handbags was the perfect start because you're solving that initial need. And I had known, leather at that point and had kind of self-taught that whole aspect of the industry. And then, again, big picture thinking. It was like, I just want to bring the world of fashion to the world of sports.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
pretty cool.
I like that.
So, what was the process like to get the patent for your
That was
cuff?
That was easy. That was honestly, you do your due diligence and research in terms of what's already out there. And then the law firm that I worked with, they had a drafts person. So it was just going back, refining the sketches and making sure that the dashed lines or, because on a patent, at least a design patent, the way it works, you would know as a lawyer, there's in the drawing, dashed lines leave things open-ended as opposed to solid lines. So like those little details, making sure, everything was hashed out and,
Awesome.
Made sense as you progressed.
Right.
So just a lot of back and forth, and then just making sure you were, I guess, like crossing all your T's and dotting all of your I's.
Do you have one on right now?
I don't.
You don't? No.
No.
So then,
Gotta
when
look
you
it up.
made this like fashion and sports connection,
Yeah.
did you ditch the cuff and go to the bags,
So
or did they kind of both go along?
This is fun. This is a debate with the cuff.
Right.
I think it could be your competitive edge as things progress because you have a unique fashion accessory.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a handful of people that say, like, what are you doing? You have a unique fashion accessory that someone doesn't have. Why are you not, proceeding with that
Right.
full-fledged? And it's just more of like a gut instinct that says put the cuff on the back burner.
Right.
For now, because you already have something unique with your handbag
Right.
line.
I have the whole like Shark Tank thing going through my mind, like you're going to have to educate an entire population about this new accessory that doesn't exist, right?
Right.
Consider the cuff. The funny thing is I had a buddy. He became obsessed with a similar thing. He's like, he used to talk about like all the shit he'd cram in his jeans when he'd go out or something.
Yeah.
And I wish I could remember all the names he was coming up with because they were hilarious. It was like sort of man purse idea, but he was trying to come up with like a little thing that basically held like ID, phone, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
All that stuff. It was really funny.
Yeah,
because like those problems do exist.
The fanny pack.
Yeah,
That,
totally.
that I know you have one on. Yeah, I got one for Christmas.
All right. So at this point, is this kind of the birth of Lauren Farrell NY in general? Like, is this where when you made that fashion and sports connection, is this
Yeah.
kind of what launched your brand?
That's the birth of it. And then again, thinking back to just like the path you took and like, why were you involved in men's lacrosse in college? And like all these weird little things that don't necessarily make sense in the moment. But then as you look back, you're like, wait, it makes perfect sense.
Right.
I couldn't do sports, but I know fashion. So
Right.
what, better person to
Yeah.
fuse those two worlds.
And you're passionate about both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have
Makes it easier.
sports teams you like?
No, honestly, and I'm dead honest. Here, that's the thing. This is so bad. This is going to come back and haunt me someday. But I was just at a basketball watch party with my best friend
Right.
who went to Villanova. And it was hilarious because I thought it was halftime, but the game was over. So literally the bar clears out. And I was like, wait, Michelle. I was like, where's all the Villanova crowd going? I was like, why are they ducking at halftime? She's like, Lauren,
They can
the
still win
game
this.
is over.
Yeah.
They lost by a point, but I was
No,
I was so confused. I thought it was halftime because I was talking to people and this and that, and I was talking about, a variety of things. But like that's where I sat and I told Michelle, I was like, Michelle, I said I know fashion. I'm bringing fashion to sports, not the
Yeah.
other way around. So I
That's
have
really
no
funny.
problem. Like I love sports, I love teams, I love the whole thing. But if I'm being completely candid, I mean, I'll watch any game at any
Right.
time. But in terms of like diehard teams, I'm pretty neutral other than
Right.
Lehigh lacrosse.
Yeah.
So do you have color combos you like of particular teams? Like I saw a lady on the sidelines at a Chiefs game
Yeah,
sporting a
yeah.
red and gold.
Yep.
Like what are some of your favorites? That
So
you,
my favorites, I think anything where they use like black and navy
Mm-hmm.
is always a nice, not together, but they're nice neutral, colors to start with, and
Right.
a lot of other colors will match with them. But I would say like I get inspired by like even this table is inspiring to me. It's,
This is a sweet table.
black and red. It's color block. It's like you
De-
don't
devils.
know. Yeah,
Right there.
devils.
Right.
But your inspiration can really come from anywhere, and it's funny because a lot of sports teams actually their color combinations oftentimes are complementary to begin with. So remember the color wheel from like
Yeah.
kindergarten. So the opposite colors are the most flattering color
really?
combinations. That's why like red and green, blue and orange.
Gotcha.
So a lot of
Blue and orange are a
teams-
lot of my go-to, like
Yeah.
Astros, Knicks.
Shoes.
Those are good ones.
Your orange.
Shoes. I do have orange
You
shoes
have
on.
orange-
right now.
Nice.
Yeah, sweet.
Oh,
that would look
yeah,
that would look
those are
good with a
cool.
Gucci bucket hat.
There you go. Why not?
Totally. We actually know a guy that wears an orange suit to Mets games. I was just thinking we should get him a
Yes.
little like side satchel to throw on over his orange suit,
Absolutely.
because I don't know where he keeps his stuff when he goes to the game.
He wears the full-on onesie with the mask.
That's awesome.
He's Orange Man.
He's Orange
yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Actually, you should cuff him. Like
I
Yeah.
should.
that would be sweet.
I should.
He probably should be cuffed in more ways
that's-
than one,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, he's nuts.
That's so funny. Oh my goodness.
We actually got to make that happen. That,
That
would be pretty
awesome.
killer. Yeah.
Amazing.
That'd be a good photo op.
Yeah.
So, with the sports, like, have you like grown that? Like, so, like, how are you targeting certain sports for your bags?
So I would say pretty much what I've had success with thus far is targeting a handful of higher profile wives or girlfriends
Okay.
of various sports stars.
Right.
And so I actually gifted bags to about 5 or 6 wives last year around this time almost. And the agreement was that they could help kind of pretty much custom design a bag, and they would post that on Instagram and give me a little shout out. And it was
Right.
really cool because they were all so excited to do it, and they had loved the product initially. Otherwise, I don't think they would have done it.
Yeah.
Right.
So the fact that they could customize it with the colors or number of their husband or boyfriend, they really loved the idea. And that particular style, I actually have it with me. Can I?
Yeah,
share a little
bring it
show
up.
and
Yeah.
See
tell?
what we got.
So this little guy, this is called the Keller. And
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
Keller means little champion. I don't know in what language. It was just like Googling early on.
Right.
But little champion, so the idea is like it's the little champion of your game day look.
Yeah.
So this is a popular style for, again, the wives and girlfriends.
Right.
You can custom, design your colors, your number. You can do gold hardware and numbers.
That's
if
cool.
that
I
was
like
your
the inside too?
vibe. The inside too. So again, like the inside for me is just as important as the outside. So that's where your color blocking.
That's
again,
awesome.
Oh, wow.
You want your
actually
team
nice.
spirit translated to the inside as well.
Yeah.
Everything's made in the U.S. Italian leather, Italian hardware. Really, again, geared at that fashion lover.
Right.
Who,
Nice.
she's not reaching for her Gucci or Louis bag that day because she's got her, luxury game day bag.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The
No, this is
inside
cute,
is
yeah.
really nice, actually.
Thank you.
I always thought that was cool too. Like on even men's clothes, like sometimes, like if you have to wear, everyone has to wear like a suit jacket, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do to a suit jacket? And sometimes it's like the weird little color accents inside, or like around stitching. And
Yeah.
so that's really nice.
Yeah. Or sometimes it's the thing that like only you know about. So a
Right.
handful of bags that I've gifted. For example, Sarah Blakely has a bag. Her lucky number is 27, and then her brand colors are red. So I made a clutch for her because her husband had a speaking event down in Atlanta, and I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to
Right.
get her a bag. So I made a clutch in red Spanx colors and then
Nice.
stitched a 27 on the inside. So it was a little personal flair of like, this is what my brand does, but tailored to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And she loved it?
Yeah, she loved it.
No way.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
really, really, cool kind of opportunities. Another wife that I have a collaboration actually with her and her husband's charity is Jessie James Decker.
Okay. Yep.
She's a country singer. Eric
Yep.
Decker's her husband. So they have an amazing charity where they actually find and rescue dogs from shelters, train them with prisoners, and then get them to veterans that need either PTSD
Wow.
support or
Right.
actual physical support. They'll tailor and train the dog based on whatever that veteran needs.
Wow, that's awesome.
So amazing program. And so I've partnered with them. So a variety of the styles that I offer, portion of proceeds then go back to that initiative, and that's called Decker's Dogs.
That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yep.
That they touch all three bases on that.
Yeah.
Dogs,
Literally.
Yeah.
prison, and vets.
Right.
That's really
I
cool.
love
Yeah, it's a good charity.
Hit the trifecta
Yeah.
in terms of at every touch point,
Right.
there's good things happening.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then since we're on the topic, I'll just mention it too. While I'm at Bellworks, if anyone's local to the area, it's an awesome opportunity to come and check out another collection that I've launched actually with a local Holmdel mom. Really very sad story. She lost her little girl right before her 3rd birthday to a category of death called Sudden Unexplained Death in Childhood.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't even know what this is. She and her husband are both physicians and had never heard of it.
Wow.
And basically, it's not SIDS. Everyone knows SIDS. That's when babies pass away, but
Right.
no one knows about this SUDC. And so I had been introduced to her and heard her story. Number one, she's the sweetest woman. That was number one. She was so nice. But I've always loved kids. And
Right.
Flashback to babysitting. I still nanny part time
Oh, do you?
as I'm building my business. So it's been nonstop 16 years now, babysitting. So like there was that touch, tie into everything. And then her little girl, Vienna, was this little fashionista. She would change her outfits like 3 times a day.
Wow.
And so basically I said, I don't know how, but I want to help you in some way. And so ultimately we, designed a collection in honor of little Vienna. So I have one of those.
Yeah,
too.
let's see that.
That's cool.
More show and tell.
That's actually, I think probably the first story I read about you was
Okay.
about Team Vienna.
Yeah.
And it's like a heartbreaking story. And
So heartbreaking.
it's unbelievable. I didn't know there was a difference actually either between
Yeah.
SIDS and SUDC.
And so that's the thing. Denise now has a nonprofit. She started Team Vienna for SUDC awareness, and her whole mission now is awareness.
Right.
Because it's pretty much a child a day, 1 to 18, that passes away from this.
That's
And so
insane.
she
Child a
said-
day?
A child a day. So that's scary, and especially your kids.
Yeah,
are right in
yeah,
the,
yeah.
the bracket
Yeah.
of, and it can come out of nowhere. Like
Right.
it's stories like they're. A 17-year-old is taking, a nap before dinner. Dad goes to wake him up. He's dead.
That's crazy.
And, especially with the younger ones, I think it's the 5th leading cause of death in toddlers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she said this was what really stuck with me. She said she flips the calendar each month and she looks at it, and the only thing she thinks is that's a kid a day
Wow.
Yeah.
gonna pass away. And so it doesn't sound like a lot when it's like 400 a year, but that's a lot.
Right.
The
It's a lot of
fact alone,
families,
That's
yeah.
a ton of families,
Yeah.
and the fact alone, her little girl alone,
Yeah.
that it really just stuck with me.
Yeah,
and
It will boggle your mind forever too, because it's like if your kid's completely, all signs are healthy,
Yeah.
right? And then you have no idea what
Right.
happened.
Yeah,
Like
it's-
that's
it's-
insane.
That's a nightmare.
And
Yeah.
then not to mention then you don't have answers as the parent.
Right.
No one knows what this is. The medical community doesn't even know what this is.
Right.
So where do you turn? Where do you go to get info? And I think that's why Denise, being a doctor and her husband being a doctor, it's that much more impactful then when,
Right.
we're telling people this, because pretty much anyone and everyone who comes into the pop-up shop, the Vienna Collection is right in the middle. I say, I don't know if you've heard about us, but here's our Vienna.
Right.
And so even if, they're not buying a bag or this or that, that's one
It's
more
education,
person each
right.
time that's
Yeah.
educated and knows or will take a flyer or what it is, and you never know.
Yeah.
You just never know. So anyways, this is the Vienna
So
Collection.
and it's very cool. Like the V works really
Yeah.
well. It's nice.
And that's why it was so cool. We came together. We designed, all together. Even her, Vienna's older sister, she designed a completely exclusive color combination.
that's cool.
So we did a large version and then a smaller version. The smaller version is stadium-friendly size.
Nice.
Okay.
The large version, the idea was kind of like a mommy and me bag.
Yeah.
But the larger version's cool because it goes from clutch to, then there's the strap inside, so you can have it as a crossbody.
Right.
So we have the V detail. There's the little halo V hang tag, which is how Denise signs her name. She puts a little halo over Vienna's name every time.
Oh, that's cool.
We have our little hang tags with little Vienna.
Okay.
The story of the collaboration, SUDC, and
Right.
then every bag in the Vienna collection is and will always be lined with hot pink because it's Vienna's favorite color.
Okay.
Nice.
So just a really, nice way to honor and keep her memory alive,
Right.
and then also spread awareness.
Mm.
And the cool thing is, no one really, is doing that.
Right.
So hopefully that's something too we can differentiate ourselves and again just spread awareness about it.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, hats off to you for
Thank you.
making that happen. That's awesome.
Thanks.
And spreading awareness. And perfectly fitting that you're in Holmdel, obviously, with
Right.
the pop up and spreading awareness about a local family.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Absolutely.
So you have
That's sad.
I know.
yeah.
Beautiful bag
Thank
for a
you.
good cause. But
Thank
Right.
yeah.
So what was her sister's color combo?
So this amazing hot pink and teal, and that goes back to Vienna's favorite little genie dolls. So we
Uh-huh.
matched the leather perfectly to their hair.
Right.
So really cool. And then she did such an amazing job because literally little girls come in the shop, they beeline right towards it. So I was like, you got
That's
it.
cool.
You're a little
Yeah.
designer. You've got the instinct.
That's very cool.
And then, again, locally, if anyone has little ones or not, open to all ages,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing intro to fashion design workshops on this coming Saturday, the 23rd.
Ah,
Yep.
nice.
And then, since we've extended into March, I have to fine tune those details because I know I'm not around every weekend.
So what are you
but-
doing for those?
So just basically teaching what a fashion designer does, the design process. We're not exactly sure who shows up age-wise, so I kind of fine-tune it depending on once you see what age bracket you're
Yeah.
working with.
Right.
So just what a designer does, and then I show them all the materials we might work from.
That's cool.
Go through, it's called a croquis, is the little like fashion body that a designer would sketch on or freehand once
Yeah.
they get good enough. But really cool way to learn is, working on the little body. So just kind of
That's awesome.
describing all that. Then we, find inspiration in a magazine and design things from it. And then it's fun, just kind of, seeing what they come up with. And some
awesome.
are
That is
so
cool.
creative. And it was so cute because there was one little girl who came last week. We did outfits first.
Right.
She's very talented. She came in halfway through because she had just been walking through Bellworks, and I guess she does a cartoon class, so she already was very good at drawing.
Right.
She made this amazing lizard dress because she was talking about like lizards and reptiles, and she's inspired by scales, and she's like this big. It was so cute.
No way.
Awesome dress. So then the next phase of the fashion design workshop was we're going to design handbags, and I had all these leather swatches and like talking about shapes and silhouettes and all this stuff. Her face lit up and was the most priceless thing I've ever seen when she found a swatch of like snake print.
That's awesome. That's so cute.
It was
Yes.
priceless. It was so cute. Like she lit up like a Christmas tree. And then it was hilarious because not planned at all, but I have them on now. But then she sees my shoes, snake print shoes later on when we go to take a picture. And it was weird. It was like we were meant to meet that day because I also had a snake ring on. So she was just like so
And obsessed with the entire thing. Yeah.
But she was so talented. It was the cutest.
That's
it was
really
really,
awesome.
really cute and cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing we haven't touched on is like all this is like the design and everything's amazing, but this is like a tiny fraction of what it takes to launch like a fashion line in a business. So obviously, like behind the scenes, you're going through a lot of like finding people to manufacture stuff, materials, starting a company, selling stuff. Like, where do you draw on? Like, is that your entrepreneurship program background coming into play, or are you figuring it out as you go along?
That's honestly just totally winging it and figuring it out and learning some very hard lessons along the way. When I first started, I wanted a U.S.-made product.
Right.
That was what I wanted. I've approached everything since day one with very big picture thinking, because why are you going to limit yourself?
Yeah.
If you're
Right.
dreaming, might as well dream big.
Yep.
So,
I agree.
in thinking of, when we have headquarters someday, where do we want it to be? U.S. You want your manufacturing right in U.S. Like that would be the dream. So I wanted a U.S. made product. Everyone's like, you're not, labor's too expensive, this, that, and the other. You need to make it elsewhere. And this was literally like you'd be advised by various people. Like you would meet someone in a leather store in New York who happened to know a manufacturer, that kind of thing. And you just kind of network and figure it out. There's also a database called Makers Row that's a database of all manufacturers in the U.S., but very much like people think fashion's this massive industry. It's this big.
Right.
It's really teeny tiny. So basically, looking at U.S. labor, initially it seemed astronomical. So I was advised to go either to China, where your minimums are too high as a startup. We would have a garage full of thousands of things if it didn't work out. And then the other happy medium, it seemed, was Mexico. So my first production run was made in Mexico.
Right.
They had, decent minimums, amazing quality, it seemed.
Right.
And basically the way it works is you will, create your it's called a spec sheet, is pretty much the, specs of what the product will be. So it would have dimensions, and this stripe's going to go here, this number's going to go here. It's all specced out, so they know how to make it. So then you would send those, your samples get made and shipped back, and then when you agree on the sample, and the sample needs to be exact to the spec sheet, so, detailed as like spacing between stitches has to be just right. But anyways, if the sample meets, your spec sheet, you're good to go in terms of production. And what happened was the production that arrived did not at all match the integrity of the samples, and the manufacturer had already been paid in full. And so literally I remember opening my boxes and I was like, I can't sell half of this, because what happened was there's a material called bonded leather, which is pretty much like a cardboard that they use in between like the leather and then the lining of the bag. And basically they didn't put enough bonded leather where the magnet goes, so when you closed the bag, or the bag was closed right on the outside, you would have what looked like an Audi belly button protruding through the leather.
Right.
And I knew I was going to be selling these for $200 or $300. I was like, this doesn't even happen on the bags in TJ Maxx. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
sell these. And so I remember he did not meet me halfway for anything.
So you didn't like say, I'm going to combine the worlds of Audi belly button people and fashion.
There wasn't a market for that.
No, not that I know of, but you never know.
You still got a few hundred kicking around.
Yeah,
and you can
I
try it.
am.
Yeah.
I do, and they're sitting in the basement. But it's funny too because I sourced everything except the one magnet closure because
Wow.
he said he could source it down in Mexico for cheaper, whatever. Okay, great. Turns out the 3 years that have gone by and the 100 of them sitting in my basement, that hardware's pitting over time. So
Even
not
worse.
only, are they, even worse.
Right.
So now you've got, 100, 200 of these bags sitting around where you can't use them.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, this is when you're just starting out. So to eat at half of the production because of the Audi belly buttons off the
Right.
bat, that was bad.
Yeah.
And, now to proceed and, your hardware is pitting. I was like, this does
That's
not
brutal.
work. And honestly, by the time the leather was going from Italy down to Mexico, it was a customs nightmare
Right.
because the Italian tannery didn't send the proper, paperwork. And so I'm getting calls that my leather's going to be destroyed in 5 days unless someone comes and
my
picks
God.
it up somewhere in Mexico.
Right.
So I was like, no, that's my entire business right now. And,
Yeah.
just a nightmare.
That almost
Literally
that would have
all
been
around.
that would have been the best payback ever if it was the dude on the Lehigh lacrosse team crank calling you about the leather.
I wish.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
not. Huh?
Unfortunately not. So basically, by the time it was done, soup to nuts, to make the bags in Mexico was almost equivalent to U.S. labor. But there's no headache in the U.S. because
Right.
I drive 40 minutes. I know who's making my bags on a personal level.
Plus, if there's an issue, you don't have anybody in the international,
Right.
Completely.
realm. Yeah.
Not to mention, from a brand perspective, I always, looking again, big picture, thinking about getting big someday. I didn't want to be a brand where you're, walking into a stadium or a sports bar and you see like tens or thousands of other people with your bag or your shirt or whatever
Right.
it is. And so a big piece of the brand is personal style, but team mentality. So heavy use of colors, but how are you taking those colors and then putting, a spin on it to cater to every style type, and then also make that person feel unique and individual, because that's one of the most fun, exciting things about fashion is you show the world who you are through what you wear.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And so basically capping production on each style produced is big picture, thinking, so that you're not having that, situation where you walk in a stadium and just
Right.
I'm the anti-jersey pretty much,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Totally.
And so you can't really have caps on, production like that elsewhere because the minimums are so high. And so that's another thing, the beauty of being made in the U.S. We can, tweak things, easily. You've got flexibility. You've got, speed of production. And there's
Yeah.
no lag time
Right.
between, things coming over on a freight or whatever the situation may be. There are so many benefits to making it here. Not to mention, that was important to me in general.
Yeah. Having that made in the USA.
Yeah,
that- yeah.
And
that's
it's
cool.
just,
Respect
and it
that.
ties into the Americana of sports. I think it ties into
sure.
the partnership with Decker's Dogs. Veterans. It's
Right.
just that's important to me, and I really like the fact that yes, it took some hard lessons to get there, but that much more so you value where you're making them.
Take
now.
pride in it.
Take
Right.
pride in
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
And it's so cool to see them being made. I have another style bag I can show you, but this style bag, being that it's more structured,
So what,
one
are these made in Jersey?
yeah, these are
Where
made in Jersey
where are they?
in Fairview.
Okay.
Yep. So this bag, it's 19 pieces that go into it that
Wow.
get cut to make it the structure that it is. So that's
Okay.
something that you wouldn't know
Right.
unless you're seeing it made. And then they're literally handmade, hand cut, hand sewn.
That's crazy.
All
Yeah,
here.
these
So
are
when you
nice.
see that and you interact with those people that can appreciate that and
Right.
understand that brand value, it's really cool to see.
That's very cool.
Yeah, you got the USA right there.
Yeah.
Nice. So what's a turnaround on how long does it take one person or a team of people to make something like that with that many components?
Ideally, production is ideal because then you have an assembly line model
Right.
where this person's cutting this person's stitching this. These are not fun to make.
Right.
this takes about half a day to make my
Does it really?
Yeah, my manufacturer makes. He's the one doing all like the detail sewing there.
Yeah.
And so it's literally something as simple as like changing the thread from the dark blue to the white is rethreading the machine. That takes time. Like it's literally so much time that, goes into it. So these ones being custom order are, definitely harder to make. He much prefers production.
Right.
Which is when you can say like, make me 10 of these.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Can I see that?
Yeah.
So little known,
Can I see the other one?
Yeah.
little known fact about me that Mike probably doesn't know either is I spent a summer working at Chanel, actually, back in the day.
I did not know that.
In the legal department. Half of what we did was like compiling photos of knockoff Chanel products and, sending out cease and desist letters and that kind of stuff. Actually, just to compare Chanel and Gucci, even though I was sort of like I was paid. It was kind of like a summer internship sort of thing, but it was paid. I was able to access the Chanel discount at the end of the summer.
Lucky duck.
And get all the ladies in my life a purse. So, so shout out to that.
All the ladies.
That's right. Well, I mean, we're talking like my mom, my sister, my mom's friend, It
wasn't as cool as it sounded.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I may have worn a Gucci bucket hat, but I wasn't that much of a player. So cool. This morning, actually, on the way here, I noticed Lagerfeld passed away.
I
And I saw you post about that as well. So are there do you have any thoughts about him or any other designers that have you view as influential in what you do?
I would say anyone, honestly, that kind of breaks the molds and thinks differently. And that's where I think, and again, why I was so intrigued by entrepreneurship. It's like, how can we create something new that's not been done and build a business off of it? Same thing with fashion. It's like the people that truly become legends and icons are the people that have thought about something differently. So, for example, this story resonates with me just because he's built such an amazing brand, and I guess such an American brand would be Ralph Lauren.
Right.
He started with just ties. And he went into Bloomingdale's, I believe it was, and his ties were colorful.
Right.
And initially, they said no, or they only wanted to buy like the neutral ones. And he said, no, not unless you buy the entire collection.
Right.
And sure enough, the guy called him back and said, okay, we'll take on your ties and look at the empire he's built.
Right.
And then, again, I forget who it was, but they were so bold as to roll their rolling rack of things right into the department store.
That's
I
cool.
forget who that was, but
Right.
it's just these people that know they're doing something differently,
Right.
and then they stick to it.
Yep.
So again, flashback to Lehigh, what was my takeaway in design? Even if the teacher doesn't like green and green's in my painting and I get a C because he doesn't like green, I stuck to what I know as the
Right.
person who designed it. And that's one thing that I think is so interesting about art, design, architecture, any of that. It truly is so subjective. And
Right.
that's saying there's no right or wrong in art. You laugh at it, there literally is no right or wrong in art.
Right.
And I think that's another, big thing that if you can appreciate fashion as an art form, and then it's a perspective, but then again, how can you do things differently?
Right.
That's where I think the magic happens.
Yep, that's cool. And I think Vineyard Vines guys, I think they did something early on, like you're getting your product in the hands of influencers. I think they used to send ties to congressmen and senators and stuff like that, and these dudes would be on TV wearing, and people would start talking. To me, their original ties are like Hermes knockoffs, basically, right?
Yeah.
But it was an American product, and it got seen by a lot of people early on. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know what they're going for too, image-wise.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know,
lifestyle.
chilling on your boat, golf
Right.
course, hanging
Totally.
out. Yeah.
Totally, but that's what people love.
Yeah.
And especially in the age of social media, so much of a brand nowadays, what lifestyle are you selling?
Right.
Yeah.
You
Totally.
know, and then the people that, buy into that and see that and want to be that, and if there's a product tied to that, you have a piece of that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right.
At least that's the mentality.
True. Are there any secret compartments in these bags?
No.
Okay.
There's some zipper pockets.
Yeah, I'm a former juvenile delinquent,
Yeah.
so my biggest goal was how do I get small liquor bottles into football games and stuff, right? So usually you try to pass it on to the lady with the purse and load her
So
pockets.
funny.
You know what I mean?
Yes, but no,
That's
these
hilarious.
these are well behaved bags
Excellent.
for now at least.
Well behaved.
It's for supporting your
Except
team properly.
When we get to whenever I can show the fanny pack belt bag.
All right, let's see that
Let's
bad
see it.
boy.
See that? Okay.
Yeah.
I think I can stand up with my headphones. Yeah. So this is the Blake, a little fanny pack belt bag.
The Blake. How'd you
The
get the
Blake.
name the Blake?
So I name all of
The
my
Blake.
all of my bags. I name like their children. So like I look at them, I'm like, what's your personality like? And then I'll literally Google. So for example, I have another bag, more show and tell, but I'll literally Google. For example, I have a camo bag with a stripe. She felt edgier, so I was like, edgy baby girl names. Top 10.
Nice.
Tatum. That's it.
There you go.
Just kind of person. Oh, you want me to hold it?
I'll just hold it a
You
little
sure?
closer.
All right, I won't torture you for long. But basically, this is the Blake belt bag.
Right.
But it converts to a crossbody. So the way it works is
That's
you
clever.
have this- doing things differently. So you weave it through, little D-rings on the back, and you clip it around your person. Fits all sizes.
I could see Orange Man throwing that on for a game.
For
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Good, let's make it happen. And then you can let it dangle if that's your vibe. You can clip something on it, or you just fasten it up there.
That's cool.
But then it converts. You just take the little lobster claws off, put them in the D-rings, and it becomes a crossbody.
Right.
So this is geared at your college girl.
Okay.
Or, the mom on the run, not bringing a lot. Again, back
Right.
to the cuff. Like, it's literally your ID, your credit
So
card,
it's like
your key.
the patented fake ID pocket.
Exactly. But
Bare necessities,
The
yeah.
the hashtag I want to get trending with this, only those 21 and older. Disclaimer. The Blake lets you double fist.
The Blake. There you go.
Nice.
And I've worn it to concerts. I've had it out. I've had it about. I'll sit now.
Okay.
But literally, it is so weird being hands free. You forget how much you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the other night, I was out with my buddy, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can get 2 drinks, and I don't have to go back to the
Double
the bar."
fist. I like
Double
that.
fist.
There you go.
All right. Hashtag the Blake lets you double fist.
There you go.
I like it.
Thanks.
Sweet.
Let's get it trending.
That's gonna be
everyone.
trending. Yeah.
That's killer. All right. Did you say you had another bag with you?
Oh yes.
I'll mention while you're grabbing that too. One thing I noticed on your Instagram, or maybe it was on your website, that I thought was cool. I'm a sucker for camo, by the way.
Hey.
It's,
We can make men's.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I like camo.
But I noticed you had the tassels too that you throw on boots
Yeah.
for the game. I thought that was
Yes.
cool.
So that's again like thinking outside the box.
Right.
Tassels had a moment in fashion like 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
But
Mike, do you remember that moment?
No, I don't.
You wearing a tassel?
I
You're-
personally really love them, and then they're cute because they look kind of like pom poms, so it's sporty, it's cute.
Right.
And basically,
So it's kind of like, is it almost similar to this, right?
Yeah.
So
But-
for our viewers at home, it would be this color.
right
in
it would
different
be
colors, team colors.
team colors, and basically I said, how can
I
you?
like these.
Thanks.
Yeah, these
My
are dope.
wife will like these.
We can help. We can make that happen. I take Venmo. So it was so funny because I said, how can you revamp, an old boot,
Right.
because a lot of times if, a woman, is looking at what comes out in the fall, it's boots, it's this, that, but you already have 6 pairs of boots at home. I don't want to drop $400 on another pair of boots.
Right.
What's a way I can make it new again? So I said, wait, how about, a magnet that's strong enough to fasten to any pre-existing boot, and then you've got not only your updated boot, but it fit on brand again in terms of like team spirit, little pep in your step, that kind of thing. And it's so funny because I was at a craft fair. I had my booth set up and the tassels were out, and she goes, this woman came up, she sees the tassel, she goes, oh my God, my husband said I couldn't get another pair of boots, but he didn't say anything about these. So I was like, perfect.
There you go.
Exactly. There you go.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then it's a good color combo for team
Yeah.
sporting and stuff
Yeah.
like that also.
And then you can take the tassels off, throw it on a bag, throw it
Right.
on your belt.
That's
whatever.
cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you got it like a full line emerging. What was this bag called?
That's the Tatum.
The Tatum.
Yeah,
All right.
that came from Google search of edgy baby girl names.
That's sweet.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, the camo and the colors is cool
Yeah,
for sure.
and then again, it's cool because it ties back to Decker's dog. So there's your veterans.
Gotcha.
American flair.
That's true.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I love camo. Camo's cool.
Yeah, camo's cool.
Definitely. Awesome.
Sweet.
All right, Lauren. So people come out next weekend, catch you at Bellworks
Yep.
for the kids, teaching the kids the fashion and about double fisting and things like that.
No. We don't teach
What is
the
that?
kids about double fisting.
Oh, I meant scissors and shears,
There you
so
go.
they can cut cloths.
Hey, that works.
Yeah.
I love it.
There you go.
This is our scissors and shear collection, which is double fisting for kids. And then you're at Bellworks. You were extended for your pop-up.
Yep.
Are you
Yeah,
out there personally, like every day? Are you really?
So that the girl's sitting in the back. That's
All right,
me.
sweet. So come by, say hi.
What
to
hours?
Lauren.
I'm open typically 10 to 5.
10-5.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks cool.
Not
And
today though. I'm here.
That's right. We got to wrap this up so you can get out there, man. Lauren, you're doing a lot of cool stuff.
Thank you.
Definitely everyone check out LaurenFarrellNY.com. Follow her on Instagram at Lauren. Oh, wait, I did that wrong. Lauren Farrell NY.
There you go.
Sorry,
It's
I
all
missed
good.
the whatever. It all blended together.
2 R's, 2 L's.
That's right. Follow her on Instagram at Lauren Farrell NY. Definitely check out her website. Get some information about SUDC.
Please.
The Team Vienna project is very cool. You're doing a lot of cool stuff.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you coming by.
Thank you for
No
having me. I had
problem.
so much
Thank you.
fun.
I hope your first podcast was a good one.
I hope, yeah. Okay.
And just to answer your previous, before we got an air question, the MulletCast it's about the business and the party. So we learned about your business. We had a lot of fun with you talking about crank calls and whatnot. So thanks for coming by.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You
Had a
got
blast.
it. Once again, I'm Evan Balmer. Follow me on Instagram at Evan Balmer.
Mike Mercia at mortgageguy_Mike, and you can follow the MulletCast on Facebook at the MulletCast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.